If you found yourself just getting back to work after a long lockdown, you might be feeling a little bit achy and sore. So I think this class could be perfect for you. We're going to do a head to toe stretch and a little bit of strengthening to get you back into the swing of things. If you have a block, that'd be great. You can even use a water bottle or a book to help bring the floor closer to you, and also a rolled up towel or blanket. I stole my dog's blanket, so he might even come in looking for it halfway through the class. Whenever you're ready, I'll meet you at the top of your mat. Hi, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time, I'm Louise, and today we're going to go through a yoga class that's really great for people that have just returned back to work after a long lockdown. I just started back to work on Tuesday and I've been really achy. My feet have been sore, my upper back and shoulders have been a little bit sore. Just using a lot of muscles that I forgot I had from sitting at home for 4 months. For this class, if you have a block or even a water bottle or a big book, that could be really helpful as well, just to help bring the floor up to you a little bit more. The great thing about yoga is you don't need to be able to touch the floor or touch your toes in order to do it, and you can always find ways to modify so you can get to that point. Also, if you have a blanket or a rolled up towel, that'd be really helpful as well. These things aren't necessary, but they're just a way of making poses a little bit more accessible, a little bit more comfortable as well. Props are a really great thing when you start out, and even if you're in an advanced practice as well. We're going to start off a little bit fiery today. So if you want to just come to your mat and start kneeling. This is where a rolled up towel or blanket could come in handy. If your knees are feeling a bit sensitive, you could put it under your knees, just like that, for a little bit extra cushion. Or to help with this pose, you could put it behind your knees as well. So we're going to start off by firing up the feet a little bit. When you come to your knees, you want to tuck your toes under and try and get all your toes to join in on the fun. So if you need to scoot your little pinky toe out a little bit, but we're going to have our feet up as if we were going to sprint out of blocks. Heel and the ball of the foot facing towards the back. And we're going to slowly start to rest our weight on our feet. If you have a blanket, you want to put it behind your knees. It'll help bring your calves and your legs up closer to the backs of your thighs, so you don't need as much flexibility for this. And also it'll give you a little bit of a calf massage as well. If you want, you can put your hands down on the mat to ease yourself into this. You want to try and sink the weight into the balls of your feet. If you have a little bit more flexibility in your feet, or you want to fire it up a bit more, you can just sit back and just let it happen. This pose is quite intense, so if you need to come out of it a few times and go back in, that's perfectly fine. I think I did this for about a year, almost every day, in order to get myself a little bit more accustomed to it. They say you can start off with working towards a minute and then go up to 3 minutes. If you do anything like planks, you know that a minute can be the hardest thing in the world. But see if you can come into a little bit of stillness. Settle in, feel those sensations. Feel the feet warming up. Stretch in the toes, heels, ball of the foot, the arch. Take a nice deep breath in your nose, sigh it out of your mouth. Another one in and out. Another deep breath in. And on your exhale, you can put your hands back to the mat if they aren't there already, and slowly come out. Just point your toes to the back of the mat and just start to tap a little bit. Feel the blood coming back into your feet. Feel that stretch in the front of the foot, the ankle. Again, if you want a little bit more, you can start to rock back a little bit. If your body allows it, you can sit onto your feet. Feel that nice stretch in your ankle. Now come to all fours. So shoulders and wrists stacked above each other, knees and hips, pelvis a bit neutral. So think belly button slightly drawing towards your spine, tailbone tucking a little bit. We want a nice flat back in this tabletop position. Spread your fingers wide and just start kind of moving back and forth, swapping the weight in each hand. Try and keep your elbows straight, but don't lock them out. Slight bend is always good. And as you're doing this, you can start to move the hands a little bit. Start to move them to the side. We're just warming up the wrists. You want to slightly go over the wrist with the elbow each time. If you're feeling a bit more brave, you can turn the hands around. You can do one at a time. Maybe move into circles, trying to keep the palm onto the mat. And then switch. Wrist warm-ups are always really great to do in the morning before a job. If you're a body piercer like I am, you use your hands quite a lot, and it's nice to have strong wrists, strong fingers, lots of dexterity in your hands for all those fiddly little ends. Let's find some stillness with both hands facing forward. And we're going to take a deep breath in, reach your bum towards the sky, chest forward through your shoulders. On your exhale, we're going to round our backs like a scared cat. Really try to exaggerate this movement when you inhale. You can feel like you have a tail and shake your tail a little bit. Exhale. Try and bring that rounded back up. And just kind of move at your own pace now. Inhale, exhale, round. Move intuitively. If it feels good to start moving your hips as well. Wake up that spine. Keep moving directions. You can tilt your head a little bit as well. I'm just here to guide you through. Obviously, everyone's practice looks a little bit differently, so don't worry, there's no perfection in yoga. It's all about feeling. So once more, let's breathe in, chest through the shoulders, and exhale, round your back. Come back to a neutral spine, and let's take our right foot back, tuck our toes under, and start to move back and forth. You should feel this in your calf. I've noticed that since I've been back working and on my feet a lot, my calf muscles are very tight. So I found this has been feeling very, very good in the mornings or the evenings. Just wiggle a little bit more. And bring your right knee back down. And now for your left. So try and tuck all your toes under. Push that heel towards the back of the room. And again, we're slightly warming up our wrists as well as our shoulders are going ever so slightly past our wrists. You can really grip the mat with your fingers and feel like you're about to open a jar. So your hands are very activated. We're not sinking into anything. And bring your left knee back. Let's take our hands and move them forward just about an inch or two and scoot our knees back a little bit so we're just slightly out of that square tabletop. We're going to tuck our toes under and slowly lift up into our first downward facing dog. Now, downward dog, I find really sometimes you need a lot of adjustments when you first begin. My favorite way to do down dog is actually with my knees very bent and my belly and torso resting on my thighs. If you want a little bit more space, you can open your feet a little bit wider towards the edge of your mat. You might find that your heels go a little bit closer to the mat that way. Just remember that your heels touching the mat is never the goal in yoga. It's not important. What you want to feel is you want to feel length in your arms, in your armpits, your back. You want to feel your sits bones, your bum reaching towards the sky. And you want to feel a little engagement in your legs as well. You don't need to have straight legs. You don't need to have your heels on the mat. And just give yourself a little bit of movement again. If straightening one leg, bending the knee feels good, just pedal out. Sometimes downward dog takes a little bit of time to get used to. It is quite a strong full body pose, but there's always ways to work through it. Let's take a nice breath here and find some stillness. On your next breath, you can look up towards your hands and start to slowly walk your hands back towards the back of the mat, towards your feet. Try and keep that belly to thigh contact, those knees bent slightly, and you're going to find yourself in a bit of a forward fold. Again, with forward folds, your legs do not need to be straight. You want to make sure you're folding from the hip. So if you need a little help, you can always take your fingers, put them right in your hip crease, and try and squish them together. As you can see, my knees are slightly bent, my torso is resting on my thighs, and this would be a good spot if you have a block, because you can start to bring the mat towards you. We want to have more of a flat spine, not a rounded back. We're not here to stretch our spine and our upper back. We're here to stretch the back of our legs and lengthen our lower back a little bit. So if you have your block, if you want to keep your hands on it, if you want a little bit more, you can always cross your arms, hold your elbows, and just kind of hang out in a ragdoll fold. You can sway a little bit. If it feels better to put your hands on the ground, if you need a little bit of balance, that's fine. Just find what feels good here. Feel all four corners of the feet planted in the mat and strong and stable. Let's find a little bit of stillness. Find your comfort zone. When you get there, take a nice deep breath in and out. Another one in and out. On your next breath in, we're going to reach up towards the sky. Fingertips all the way up. Look up, look up, look up. Hands together. And exhale your hands down towards your heart. So while you're standing, again, you want to feel all four corners of your feet planted into the mat. A little bit of buoyancy in the knees, never lock out any joints. And also look down for a second at your knees, and you want to see activating your quadriceps. So literally just pull up on your knees and you should feel these muscles turn on a little bit. And while you're feeling that, you can feel that your whole body's actually working. You might feel a little bit of a shake right now. Even during this is yoga. This is full body engagement, full body working. Take another breath here. And exhale, arms to the side. Let yourself relax. Let's wiggle our shoulders a little bit. Shoulder rolls backwards. And now some shoulder rolls forwards. And let's find that stance again. So let's do a quick body scan. Feet, all four corners planted. Feel that energy moving up. So kneecaps activated, quads activated, tailbone slightly tucked, ribs slightly knitted in. So if you have your fingers on your side, you can feel yourself just straightening yourself out. Hands, palms facing towards the front of the room, chin parallel with your mat. Take a deep breath here and sigh it out. Let's take another breath, arms up to the sky, touch your fingers together if you can, and exhale, slowly start to float it back down. Bend your knees, belly to thighs. And again, if you want to use a block or a book to bring the ground closer to you, do that. You can use your water bottle, just anything. Take a breath here and exhale. So bend your knees as much as needed to get your hands back on the mat, and we're going to walk ourselves back out from our downward facing dog into a plank position. You can drop your knees down if you like. So shoulders and wrists stacked on top of each other, tailbone tucked, back flat, either up on your toes in a regular plank or down on your knees. We're just going to shrug our shoulders up a little bit. Just get that scapula moving, a little bit of activation in the shoulders. And one more. And now bend your elbows, let them come close to your sides, and slowly try to lower your torso all in one. If there was a little bit of a flop there, don't worry. Sometimes it takes a little bit more strength, and the easiest way to build that strength is with a slow lower. When you get to the mat, you can press your forehead to the mat, press your pelvis into the mat, the tops of your feet. Again, you want to feel that full body activation. You should feel a nice stretch on the back of your neck. And let's take our hands a little bit wider than our mat, off to the side, and tent our fingers. Feet should be a little bit more than hip width apart. Pelvis into the mat. And we're slowly going to inhale up. Just bring your chest a little bit up, chest and shoulders off the mat. And exhale back down. Forehead to the mat. And inhale. Roll your shoulders back down your back. Keep them away from your ears. Just hang out here for a little bit. You can sway around. And on your next exhale, lower back down. Let's do one more of those. So inhale up and just slightly dip your right shoulder. Look off to the left. Come back to center. Dip your left shoulder. Look off to the right. Inhale back up. Exhale back down. Forehead to mat. Take a little rest. You can wiggle it out a little bit. And now we're going to take our left arm and put it straight out to the side. So keep your wrist and your shoulder level with each other. And slowly, you're going to start to turn to the side and reach your arm out, and we get a nice shoulder stretch. You should feel this across the front of your shoulder and your chest. Try and keep your head and ear to the mat. If you need a little bit more, use your right hand to help push you or to help keep you stable as you reach your right knee up towards the sky. I have very flexible shoulders, so if this looks a bit like a pretzel, don't worry. Just a slight turn. Just want to feel that stretch. And exhale back to center. Let's go from the right side now. Need to move a little bit. So right arm out. Take your left hand close to your body and just slowly start to shift your weight over to move over onto your side. If you have a little bit more to give, you can start to bring your knee up. Head resting towards the mat. This will feel a little bit intense, So just find your comfort zone. You can move a little bit. And on your next exhale, back onto your belly. I'm just going to shift myself back onto my mat. And forehead to the mat. And let's take our palms back towards our thighs and on the mat. So thumbs face outward, palms on the mat. And we're going to slowly, as we inhale, we're going to start to lift our upper body and our hands a bit like a Superman type of flying. You might feel a little bit of a shake here, pelvis towards the mat. Really engage those legs and exhale back down. This is helping to engage the muscles along the spine and the lower back. If you're hunched over a lot at work, this can really help you, help strengthen, get rid of those aches and pains. And let's try once more. And if you're feeling a little bit brave, try lifting your legs as well. So inhale, chest and shoulders. Maybe pick up your feet as well. So it's just your pelvis and a little bit of your thighs on the mat. A little breath here and exhale back down. Great job. Probably worked up a little bit of a sweat there. Locust is one of my favorite ways to strengthen my back. If you want to just bring yourself up to your knees, toes together, knees about as wide as your mat, and give yourself a little wiggle, find your comfort, and slowly start to walk your palms down. You can let your forehead touch the mat and reach your hands forward. Activate your hands a little bit and your arms so you feel that stretch, and your bum should be reaching towards your heels. Don't worry if it doesn't touch. That's not important. We just want to feel a nice stretch along our back. This should feel a bit like downward facing dog, only maybe slightly easier. And on your next breath in, we're going to come back into our tabletop position. We're going to go through a few standing postures now. So plant your palms, tuck your toes under, slowly start to lift back up into downward facing dog. Find your adjustment. I always need to move my feet a little bit after I come up from tabletop. It depends on my level of flexibility that day and how intense I want it to be. But I try to always keep my belly to thigh contact, my knees bent, arms active, armpits long. And you should just feel your whole body getting a nice stretch. If it feels a little bit intense, don't worry. Sometimes it starts to feel better after a while. On your next breath in, look up towards your hands and slowly start to walk your feet in towards your hands. You can try to leave your hands on the mat as long as you can. Bend your knees. And here we are again in a ragdoll fold at the front of our mat. So a couple options here. Again, if you want to hold your elbows, you can just kind of let yourself dangle. If you need a little bit of space, just move your feet a little bit further apart. If your hands can reach the floor, even with your knees deeply bent, if that feels good, let it feel good. You can also use your water bottle to bring the floor to you a little bit so you feel that flat back stretch in your back. If you want a little bit more, I'm going to show you a great way to stretch your wrists as well. So bend your knees and you just want to slide your hands underneath your feet. So your toes are actually right at the wrist. And then push the backs of your hands against the mat and just start to move back and forth. If you're feeling more flexible, you can start to straighten your legs. And as you're pushing down on your hands with your feet, you want to bend your elbows to the side. It's quite intense, but it's a really nice stretch. And sometimes if you're like me and you've got quite long arms, it's a little bit easier to get to these poses. All right, if you were trying to stand on your own hands, let's take those back. And we're going to come into a halfway lift. So again, activate your legs a little bit, pull up on your knees, and just hands can rest on your shins. You want to feel nice flat back, like a tabletop position. Inhale here, exhale, slowly start to bend your knees, let your hands slide down towards the mat. Your next inhale, we're going to spread our wings wide. So we come all the way up, look up at your fingers, and exhale, hands down to our side. So find yourself again in mountaintop position. So feet facing forward, all four corners of the mat against your foot. Start to activate those legs again, pull up on those knees, tuck your pelvis, open your palms towards the front of the room. Take a deep breath here and exhale. Let's slowly start to shift our weight to the left side, left foot and right foot. Bring it up onto your toes. Going to slowly start to bring our knee up towards our chest. And if you can, interlace your hands and try to bring your knee closer to your chest. With your tailbone down, you should feel a little stretch in the back. If you have a wall nearby, you can always use one hand on your knee and put your hand out for a little bit more balance. Take a breath here, and on the exhale, put your hands on your waist and slowly start to reach your foot back to the back of the mat. If that was a little bit wobbly, don't worry. I usually have terrible balance, but some days it's all right. Let's get yourself a little bit situated. So feet should be on train tracks. So almost hip width apart. One foot, your left foot at the front of your mat on the left side, your right foot towards the back of your mat on the right side. Pelvis over hips, both knees bent. Hands on your hips. Feel like your legs are going to scissor together, like you're going to squeeze your thighs together and your mat's going to crinkle up in between. If you're feeling a little braver, you can inhale your arms up. Try and find a spot across the room that's not moving for a little bit of balance. If you need a little bit more, you can start to straighten your back leg as you sink into your front leg a little bit more. Feeling strong, feeling stable, maybe a little bit wobbly, and definitely a bit fiery. One more breath here, and exhale, hands down towards the mat. Again, if you need a block to bring the mat up to you a little bit more, you're going to plant your right hand, keep your torso close and your knee close together, and you're going to slowly start to open up to the left side. Gentle twist. It might not feel very gentle at first, but it's just twisting from above the waist, looking towards the left side of the room. Deep breath in, and on your exhale, let's bring our hand back down and bring our right knee to the mat. Again, if you need a little bit of padding on your knee, you can put your rolled up blanket or fold over your mat and put it under your right knee. In our low lunge, we're going to keep our toes curled under in our right leg and bring our hands close to interlaced on top of our knee. Squeeze your right bum cheek to activate the front of your hip flexor and give yourself a little bit of stability. If you're feeling a little bit more brave, you can inhale the arms up, look up, feel those little wobbles, feel that energy going through your body, and exhale, hands back down. Let's pretend we're about to sprint off into a race. So pick up your back knee and just shoot yourself back up to the front of the mat. If that was a little bit tricky, you can just step yourself up. There's no need to push yourself. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Just give yourself a little bit of time and wiggle. On your next inhale, look up at the sky, look up at your fingers, and exhale, your hands back down. Let's come back into that mountain pose. If you need a little second to wiggle it out, go ahead. When you're ready, find stillness. Slowly start to shift your weight to more of your right foot, left foot up on the toes, and see if you can bring that left leg up and squeeze it in towards your belly. Again, if you have a wall nearby, you can use the wall for a little bit of stability. Try and keep that belly to thigh contact, that tailbone long. And when you're ready, hands to your waist. Slowly, slowly, as slow as you can, start to step back. Woo! It's a little bit wobbly there. Back knee bent, pelvis, body, shoulders, everything stacked on top. And I'm going to inhale my arms up, but feel free to keep them at your waist, or if you like them, at your chest. And I'm going to slowly start to sink down into my right knee. Try and keep your knee and your shin over your ankle. And I'm going to start to straighten out my back leg for a little bit more intensity. Feel free to keep yours bent. Legs feeling like they're going to scissor together. Another breath here. And exhale, hands down. Left hand to the mat. Right knee bent. Torso close to your thigh. Left heel going back towards the back end of the room. Inhale, start to open up. Reach your hand towards the ceiling. If you can look up towards your hand, if that feels good on your neck, go ahead. Otherwise, just look straight ahead. Another breath here. And exhale, bring your knee down. Again, if you want to double up your mat, feel free to do that, or get your blanket for a little bit of padding. Keep those toes tucked. Bring your hands interlaced up onto your knee. Squeeze that left glute. Feel those legs again like they're going to scissor together. You should feel your whole body working. And if you're ready, inhale your arms up. Slight back bend as you look up towards the ceiling, towards your hands. Take a deep breath here and exhale. Hands back down. Lift up your back knee and shoot yourself up towards the front of the room. When you get to the front, halfway lift, active legs, flat back. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Forward fold. Next breath in. Inhale, arms all the way up. Exhale, back down by your side. We're going to move into a squat now. So, going to bring our feet out towards the corner of the room, towards the mat, not that far, corner of the room. So feet towards the edge of the mat and slightly angled out to the sides. This is where props will come in handy again as well. If your body's not a huge fan of squats, what you can do is you can put your rolled up blanket underneath your heels. So it helps stabilize the heels a little bit more and slowly start to reach down. That way you're not just hanging out on your toes the whole time. If you have a block or a water bottle, you can put it under your bum like that. If squats are something that you're familiar with, and you can find how low you can go and where you're comfortable. You can always fold your hands at prayer and use your elbows to try and push your knees out a little bit. Again, even if your heels are on the ground, if you want to have a little bit of a seat on a block to help keep your back straight, whatever works best for you. If you're here right now, you're really strengthening those quads, and well done. So if you're ready, you can bring your hands down to the mat. You can start to wiggle it out a little bit. So if you're up here, hands on the mat. If you're down here a little bit more and you've got balance and a strong squat, you can keep your hands at prayer to help open up a little bit. And let's take another breath, settle in. And now for a tricky yogic transition, we're just gonna put our hands down behind us and come down onto our bums. Hopefully that worked out well for you. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna switch around so you can see me a little bit better, thanks to my oddly shaped yoga room. So, feet out in front of you, knees pointing up towards the ceiling, feet hip width apart, hands out in front, and we're going to slowly start to roll down. We're going to use a little bit of our core for this. So slowly, vertebrae by vertebrae, you're going to start to feel a little bit of a shake. When you do, try and hold it there for a second, and then maybe go a little bit lower, a little bit lower, a little bit lower, and let yourself go down. Very good. Those little tiny bits of core that you can sneak in sometimes, they're just as effective as doing planks every day, and they really help strengthen you basically from here all the way up to here, which really helps, especially in a job like piercing or tattooing, where you're kind of in weird positions all the time. Really helps cut back on back pain and just makes you overall feel a lot better at the end of the day. So knees up towards the sky. We're going to take our right foot and we're going to cross it over as if we were going to sit cross-legged. There's a couple different stages in this. So if you're right here and this feels pretty intense, or this feels enough for you, you can keep your right hand on your right knee to try and push your knee out a little bit. You want to keep your knee away from your torso. If you have a little bit more to give, you can start to pick up your left leg off the mat. And again, keep your hand to give yourself a little bit of space. If you have a little bit more to give, as long as you can keep your back flat on the mat, head down, neck long, you can reach through and start to pull your left leg towards you as you're keeping your knee outward. I have very good external rotation on my hips, so in order for me to really feel this pose, I need to do it quite intensely, but sometimes just sitting like this feels really good. Let's take another breath here, and exhale your right foot back to the mat. Let's do that on the left side. So bring your left foot across. Keep your foot nice and active. Left knee away from your torso. Try and keep your tailbone long. You want to feel your whole back pressing down into the mat. If you've got a little bit more to give, start to pick up your right foot. Keep your back flat on the mat. If you have a little bit more to give, back, bum, neck, everything on the mat, and just bring that right thigh in towards your chest. If it feels good to wiggle it out a little bit, that's always good. If you're right here, you can use your hand gently to push your knee slightly away from your body. Another breath here. And exhale back down. Let's bring our knees a little bit closer together so our legs are touching. Arms out to the side. And we're going to scoot our hips over towards the left and bring our knees over towards the right. If you have your block, you can let your knees rest on your block or your water bottle or your rolled up blanket. If you've got a little bit more to give, and then come over to the side. I like to use my hand on there. You want to try and keep your left shoulder on the mat and your chest facing up towards the sky, hips stacked on top of each other. Sometimes in twists, it's a little bit harder to breathe because we are giving yourself a little bit of constriction. If you feel slight constriction, that's fine. You still, if you want to back out a little bit, if it feels unnatural to you, you can. You can raise your legs up a little bit with a block. But if you really are struggling to breathe, that means you've gone a bit too far and you definitely need to back off a bit. Take another breath here. And exhale. Let's bring ourselves back into center. Find your center and set up to go to the other side now. So hips slightly off to the right, knees off to the left. If you can, look out towards your right hand as your upper body lays flat against the mat and your lower body is in a twist the opposite side. One more breath here. And when you're ready, just bring yourself back. Knees up towards the sky. Tuck your tailbone. You want to feel your whole back pressing up against the mat. Neck, chin a little bit tucked so you have a little bit of length in the back of your neck. Your head into the mat. And slowly put your right leg out. Put your left leg out. Make a few wiggles. Palms facing towards the ceiling. Take a deep breath in and sigh it out. And we've come to the end. So we're going to lay here in Savasana and just give yourself permission to do nothing. Let yourself relax. Let all that work you just did sink in. Feel the calmness coming over. Sometimes the best thing we can do for ourselves is to give ourselves a few minutes of nothing to do at all. Feel free to stay here as long as you like. If this is morning and you're about to get up and get ready for work, let's get to it. If this is after work, just give yourself permission to lay here as long as you feel like it. I hope you enjoyed this class. I hope it left you feeling a bit more energized. I hope your feet are a little bit more awake and ready to take on the world. I post videos weekly. I took a little bit of a break, but I'm back now, so you can expect videos from me probably every Friday. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe. If you liked this video, you could give it a like or tell me in the comments how you felt about it. And yeah, I'll see you again soon.